What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? I'm Grant.
And I'm Beef.
And today we are looking at one of my personal favorite shows of all time, Fate Zero.
Dragon Ball Z.
This is a show that we have referenced a few times on this channel. We have actually both watched it.
Yes.
You
could get our opinions of it, well, in this review, and in the Q&A video that we did a while ago that nobody watched because it was 2 hours long.
We did talk about it in the Q&A, but we always planned to do a separate video.
Yes.
For this specific
Even
one.
before the Q&A.
Yeah, so I wanted to do this one personally because this was, it's not my first anime I ever watched, but this was back, and I want to say, kind of when it first came out, I was recommended this show, and I didn't watch it because it was airing. And then I watched the first episode, I was like, oh, this is pretty good.
Did you watch it on Netflix?
No, I didn't, actually. It wasn't on Netflix at the time.
Oh, I watched it when it was on Netflix.
So I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Then I waited a whole year to watch it. I didn't watch the show immediately, and that's because I wasn't interested at first. I have told this story before, but I'm going to just reiterate. I thought Fate, the idea sounded stupid. Like, I thought it sounded so dumb, and I wasn't interested at all. It's mostly because I hated King Arthur, like, just as a character. So
why?
Because, like, the Hollywood movies of King Arthur are always so boring, so I always had it in my head that King Arthur, anything with King Arthur would suck. So that's why I didn't watch this show immediately, but I ended up binge watching it, thankfully, which I think is the best way to watch an anime, personally.
The best way to watch any show is to binge watch it. Because
Like,
you get more invested in the plot.
when you're like Game of Thrones in it, it's like you wait 8 years and then the final season sucks.
Yeah.
So it's like, whereas here it's like, okay, I just watched the entire show and it was terrific. So let's get to Fate Zero. What's the plot? It's very simple. Mages call servants to fight in a war against the Holy Grail. That's the story.
That is the plot.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right, see you later, everybody.
All
Thanks
right,
for coming to One
goodbye.
for Review. Go watch our Q&A.
All right, to expand on that. Yeah, so that's the basic plot, I think, of anything Fate related. I mean, I really don't have to describe that. I've done many reviews on Fate. Basic plot, mages get servants from history, and they join them to fight against, not evil, but to fight for their own selfish desires.
Yes.
And that's Fate.
And to kill children.
Well, that is a byproduct
Many children.
All right, so we're going to get to that.
Each better than the last.
We're going to get to that. So this show is actually a little bit of context. This is a prequel. This is stuff that Alex doesn't even know. So I'm actually telling Alex too.
I'm pretty sure I do know, you just don't remember.
This show is actually based on the manga series, which was a prequel to the Fate Stay Night visual novel. And this was after the Studio Dean kind of fucked up on the Fate Stay Night. So they went straight into Fate Zero. So this was the first Fate-related thing that was good by Ufotable. And then they were left with the horrible Studio Dean Fate Stay Night, which this was back in 2011.
Insert date here.
It was 2011. It was 2011. I forgot.
How could you?
So yeah, this was back in 2011, Fate Zero. So it's really hard to give a summary of the plot because the plot is really just a clash of different ideals and different people having different perspectives of what they want. You have the main character, who is Emiya Kiritsugu, who wants the Holy Grail to make peace in the world. And that's it. And then he has his whole elaborate backstory as why. There's no spoilers in this review, or at least there is spoilers.
It's Fate/Zero if you haven't seen it by now.
Listen,
Christ almighty.
We're gonna, how about this? In the first couple of minutes, no spoilers, but then I'll say spoilers, and then we'll get into spoilers.
When there are spoilers, we will tell you that there are spoilers.
Well, let's give our thoughts now, and then we'll get into spoilers. Alex, what did you think of Fate Zero when you watched it?
I liked it. I thought it was a nice concept, and the visuals were really good. The fighting was actually very action-packed, and that's what captured my interest. Plus, I mean, the cover art. Just look at it.
It is visually
Beautiful.
interesting, yes.
It captured my young mind, and I watched it, and it was good, and I enjoyed it. I didn't watch any other Fate
products.
Yeah, I didn't watch any other Fate anime, just that one, and I liked it. My favorite character was Castor, because he killed children, and I hate children.
Recently, I found out a lot of people like Castor.
See, I told you.
Don't know why. I always the cast that we're talking about is Gilles de Rais. I never liked him. I like the voice actor behind him. He makes it so. He has like that very like well, I don't know how he sounds in English, but in Japanese he has that
Yeah.
like that kind of weird voice, which I didn't meet the guy. I was about to say I met him.
I met the guy.
I saw the guy in real life, and he mentioned how he got his inspiration from. I forgot what the inspiration was from, but like he had like the inspiration that he wanted to have like a kind of build up, kind of slow down, and then high pitched voice. Like,
A wave motion.
yeah, so kind of like a wave motion into his voice, and it was based off a specific character or
The
person.
Mad Hatter.
So when I heard that, I was like, oh, that makes sense because he sounds like a moron. He's like,
Well, if you have to put it that way, then
yeah. So he's a bit of a weirdo. But anyways, my thoughts before we get into spoilers. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. It was great. I loved it when it first came out. When I first binge watched it, I thought it was great. At the time, this was 2011. I probably watched this in 2012. So
I probably watched it in 2013.
in 2012, by that time I had already watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gurren Lagann, Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, a bunch of favorite shows of mine.
Yes.
And more than just that, but those are the only ones that are fresh in my mind.
Those are the only ones that matter.
But so when I watched Fate Zero, it was all the anime. What I'm getting at is all the anime I watched was relatively older. Like I wasn't getting into new anime, but then Fate Zero was one of the first like kind of new anime that I watched. I was captivated by it. I thought the animation was gorgeous. Thought the characters were all interesting, and I really liked it. All right, that's all you get for non-spoilers.
Okay, now spoiler time. Batman dies.
All right, spoiler time. So you mentioned the kids that die in the beginning.
Children, the very many children.
Do you want to elaborate on this? On why you like Castor?
He's just a really funny character. He's a villain. He's a genuine villain. He's not like, oh, I want to take over the world. I want people to suffer. No, he just fucking kills people. He kills the kid because he feeds off of the fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fear. That first kid that got killed when he was being summoned cemented my love for him.
That shocked me when I first saw it.
Exactly. It's
That
the
shocked
shock value. It's he's actually a nice guy. It's the mage that's fucked up. That's what they make you think. It's the mage that's fucked up. So he's killed a family and is drawing on their blood and everything, and he's keeping the kid as a sacrifice to Castor. So then when Castor is like, oh, no, we don't do that. Let him go. And he just lets him go. And the kid's right there, about to go out the exit. And then he just gets torn apart. Completely just erased from this plane of existence. And he just told me, I remember, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said the best kind of fear is the fear that has hope behind it. Like, you think you're going to get out alive. You think you're going to make it okay. But then all of that is taken away from you and you die.
Yes.
I think that was amazing.
That was a good like introduction to the character for sure, because like at that point, because like I said, it shocked me.
Yeah.
I didn't that was something I didn't see coming. I was like, oh, he's a nice guy, I guess.
Exactly.
And
that's what they made you think.
And then it's just like, oh, he kills the child. I was like, oh.
He doesn't just kill the child. He just like tentacleize him. Like he just drags him into this ball of tentacles and just
it's very
murders him.
grotesque. It's a very grotesque death, and
It is.
that's when I realized like, oh, this is not your average show.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
This is gonna be very, very dark.
Yes.
Not weird, but like Evangelion, but it's dark. So yeah, it was a good introduction, and this is something that continues for the first season.
Mhm.
Or first 13 episodes, like the big deal of Castor and his master, whose name I forget because I didn't
Unimportant.
like him. I didn't like him. I liked him as the villain, but I didn't like him because he's evil. But yeah,
I think 'cause
that
he's
guy
evil.
who's just killing kids because he just loves the kill.
Yeah, he's
That's
just
it.
a serial killer who likes killing children
And he just wants to Holy Grail because he's a psychopath.
because he wants to kill more children
Yeah, and then
on a bigger scale.
And it's like it's so surreal and so just like wow, like
It
what
makes
is
you
this?
it makes you realize that not everyone, like usually in animes it's like, oh, I'm the good guy, I want to save people. He kind of, I guess, equalizes that to where he's just like, no, I just want to kill people.
You
I just want to kill.
you have
I'm a serial killer.
you have like kind of like polar opposites. You have Emiya Kiritsugu, which this guy isn't the main character, mind you. This because he dies immediately.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hang on. Yeah, he's one of the first like kind of masters to die because he's out in the open just kind of screaming.
Yeah.
And then Kiritsugu shoots him. Now, like you have all these masters who have different agendas. They want different things, and all of them are bad people, which I think made
A
me
lot
like
of
the
them are
show.
bad people.
A lot that made me like the show a lot more because like everyone's bad.
Because it's like, it's not everyone in real life is going to be, oh yeah, no, I'm going to get this ultimate power to help heal everyone.
Not
They're going to be like, no,
everyone
I
is
want
Shido.
that for my own gain. I want that for what I want it to be. Not
Yeah.
everyone's going to be, doing it for someone else. They're going to be doing it for themselves.
It's like not everyone's like Shido because one problem I had with like Fate Stay Night, like the first two routes, Fate and Unlimited Blade Works, is that Shido is just I want good in the world because Kiritsugu was a good human being, and that's pretty much it. That's his motivation.
Yep.
Whereas in this show, it's like Kiritsugu, which he has a clear motivation. He wants to create peace in the world, and that's because he's seen some horrible shit. His best friend, maybe even love interest, I don't remember, dies on the island because of his father's experiments,
Yes.
and because of that, everybody on the island dies. And then his father shows no remorse. He doesn't care. He's
Was
like,
he
"Yeah,
the
we can move on."
one that had the vampire plants?
The vampire plants.
Right? Was that? Am I wrong in remembering that?
I mean, he had plants. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
I know
they
he
were
had a
vampire.
flower, but I thought like they turned, like the serum he made to make them the way they are turn people into vampires.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to get into.
Yeah. So you have that. His father shows no remorse. He doesn't care. He's
Well,
like,
because
"Let's move
it
on."
was, if I remember correctly, it was her fault. She's the one that was like, "No, it's ready. I know we can benefit humanity from this."
Yes. Yes.
And then she fucking killed and ate her chickens like
So-
like an idiot.
So then he kills his father and doesn't care, and then he gets raised by his essential mother figure who is an assassin, and then that's who raises him. So he becomes this like specially trained assassin who just doesn't seem to care, but he does care. Clearly he does care within the series. He wants to save the world. That's his
He wants
goal.
to save more people.
The whole message through the show, even to the end, or at the end is where you figure out, okay, there is more to this character than just he wants to kill people. It's that he wants to be a hero.
Yeah.
And what I like in the show is that he doesn't get his wish.
Nope.
Doesn't work out.
If he's, I can't remember all the characters' names because it's been so long since I've seen it. He's the one where he had to choose between two boats, one with 50 people and one with 100 people, and choose which one dies, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was when the Grail was tested.
Yeah, it was testing him. I remember that because that was like a heavy part.
Yeah, it was like
It was
like,
it was
who
showing
do you
him,
save?
like you can't save everyone. Like the thing kept getting smaller. Like, okay, there's two people in this lifeboat and one person in this lifeboat, but this one person is you. Who do you sacrifice in order to save? Like, I thought that was,
and he just wants to save all of them.
yeah. He wants to save everyone, but the Grail is telling him, no, you can't save everyone.
So in the end, what ends up happening to the main character is, well, Kiritsugu, when everything's gone, so he betrayed Saber.
Yeah.
Saber dies because of him. He doesn't get his wish, and he killed all the people he was willing to kill up until this point, knowing that he would save people. He killed them all in vain, pretty much.
Yep.
He let his wife, Irisville, die because the Grail said, I could bring her back for you.
Yep.
And he could never see Elia again, his daughter. So he lost everything, and on top of that, the city burns in
Yeah,
flames.
that's the part I remember.
And then he tries to save one person, but every person he tries to save turns to ash and dies. And this broken man
This poor guy.
is just walking around in tears trying to find one person he could save, which that one person, of course, ends up being Shido. And then he's so overjoyed he cries because he saved one person, then he adopts Shido. And then at the end of the series, he says, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? He was like a hero, and he didn't get to be it. So I like the show, how it ended, because it's like, oh, it did not end happy.
Yeah, this is the opposite of happy. This
It
is
was-
sad.
It was very deep, and it had a good message. Sometimes you don't get what you want, or sometimes it's not as
It's-
simple as you think.
I like shows that put the humility back into the genre. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like in the anime. Usually the animes people talk about are the ones where it's this one underdog that gets superpowers and goes and saves the world. In this one, the normal people, humans, get these powerful avatars that can possibly get them, if I remember correctly, unlimited power. And
Well, omnipotent wish. Yeah, so
yeah,
pretty much.
well, a wish, whatever they want, and they're doing it for themselves. And the people who are doing it for others are doing it in vain because they ultimately don't get what they want.
Yes, and then that's the whole deal with like the Grail, how it's been corrupted.
Yep.
Which that's where you find out in the series, like, okay, the Grail is not what it was cracked up to be because it was corrupted in the Third Holy Grail War.
I think it's
And-
kind of funny. They were fighting for it, and then you would think they would go up and be like, "Oh, that doesn't look right. Should we do something about that?
Well, you can't really because it's already been corrupted. So,
Why fight for it?"
well, nobody knows. They just think it's the Grail. Like we gotta get it. But and then you have all these characters. I think almost everybody in the show is shitty. There's a few characters that's like, okay, they are good, but they don't get what they want. Now, of course, Berserker's master,
Mm-hmm.
whose name escapes me. God damn it. I remember everybody else, but like there's two characters I don't remember, and that's the two masters, Caster's master and Berserker's master.
Caster Master.
So Berserker's master, he wanted to save Sakura, which, if anybody who's watched Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel, everybody knows she's being corrupted. She's being violated by Zoken, Mato Zoken, and she is being used to be a weapon in another Holy Grail War. And he wants to save her so then she could go and be with Rin, which is her real sister. Spoiler for anybody who fucking cares. So that's his whole deal. He is a very noble goal. He wants to save her, and in the end, he dies.
Yeah.
He doesn't even die a hero's death. He dies by being consumed by worms, as Sakura just says, how weak.
Oh, I remember that. I think it was in Fate, wasn't it, where he got thrown into the pit of worms?
Yeah, that was Fate Zero.
I didn't like that scene. That was
Yeah, it's disturbing.
where he was the one from that part that I like actively remember is that he was fighting someone and he like broke his fingernails on like the ground because he was scratching that hard. And
well,
I
the
was
thing
like,
is, the thing is, in order to have a berserker class that like strength, you need to be like a very powerful mage, and
Yeah.
if you're not powerful, it just consumes you. That's why Elia in Fate Stay Night, she's able to have berserker Hercules,
Heracles,
who normally would just kill somebody, but she has enough mana within herself that she is able to,
she has the willpower to
supply
control him.
She can supply him enough mana, whereas this guy, he couldn't supply the mana to this berserker, who we find out in the show
Is Lancelot
is Lancelot, which that
for
plays
some reason.
that does play a role into Saber's story, which we haven't talked about the servants, but we'll get to them.
Eventually,
So then you have the other characters. You have Lord El Malloy, who was the Lancer's servant.
mm-hmm.
Lord El Malloy, who he's just kind of an asshole, and his wife is also
a bitch.
a bitch. Like they're just evil. Like they're just bad.
They're just not good people. They're not evil per se. They're just not really good people.
Yeah, you have a lot of bad people, and
There aren't really many good people in this series.
there are a few, but not a lot.
They wouldn't. It's not like they would get anything, done.
Well,
They just die.
okay. So we got Tokumine, who is the father of Rin, and he is a big piece of shit, a horrible piece of shit, and he ends up dying, of course, because
He's a piece of shit.
he's a piece of shit who was betrayed by the priest, the false priest, as they call him, Kotomine. Now, Kotomine, everybody knows him. I don't think I need to give an introduction for him. He is a horrible man, horrible man who kills Tokumine and his wife.
Yep.
And then gets custody of Rin, their
Oh,
daughter.
thank God.
No wonder Rin's so fucked up. But I have something to say about Rin before we move on. There's one episode in the show that's dedicated to Rin, Tosaka Rin, and I have to say this is one of the only shows I've ever seen where they did like a episode focused around a child right. They did a really good job with the episode with Rin and how she has to face the master who's a serial killer and he's trying to kill like all these kids and then she saves them. It's a really nice episode. It's dark, but it's also kind of lighthearted.
It is.
That was a really good episode, I have to say. It was one of the few episodes I've seen like a kid as a protagonist do a really good job.
Yeah. Showed
But-
sympathy, acted more adult-like.
Yeah, so I really like that episode. But anyways, you got Kotomine, who's a big piece of shit, and who ends up becoming the master of Gilgamesh, because Gilgamesh likes him, because he thinks he's interesting, which is in and itself an interesting trait with Gilgamesh, which we'll get into the servants
It's
later.
because he's secretly gay.
Well, I don't think that. I'm pretty sure it's because he's mildly entertained.
I feel
by
like
him.
he's so absorbed in himself that he would be gay just so he could have sex with himself.
Oh, without a doubt, that's how he is.
Like I'm not gay. I'm just allowing myself to suck my dick.
He's just so infatuated with himself. Like that's the only. I mean, yeah. All right. So you got those characters. Those are the bad characters. Then you got one of the few good characters in the show, Waver. Waver, who's the kid and who's barely of age, who ends up becoming the new Lord El Malloy, and it is gonna have his series later on this year, Lord El Malloy II, Case Files.
Oh.
Which is a detective series, which is great.
Does it have Pikachu in it?
No, unfortunately.
Ryan Reynolds?
Anyways, Waver. I liked Waver in the show as well. He was also very entertaining. I wouldn't say entertaining. He was interesting. He just wanted people to pay attention to him. He wanted to be something, and then Ryder quickly puts him in his place by saying, "Is that all you want? Popularity, kid?
Yep.
You need to do something. You need to be big." Which, okay. Moving on to the servants. Do you remember all the servants? I'm gonna
Saber,
assume
Castor,
yes.
and Gilgamesh. And Lancer. Those are the only ones I remember.
Okay, well, you got Saber, who is King Arturia.
Yes.
You have Archer, which is Gilgamesh.
Yes.
You have Ryder, who is Alexander the Great, or Iskander. You have Castor, who is Gilles de Rais. I lost count. Let's see. Saber, Archer. Yeah. All right. You have the Berserker, who is Lancer.
Yes.
You have the Lancer, who is what was his name? I think it was.
Well, the Berserker wasn't Lancer. It was Lancelot.
The Berserker is Lancelot. Yes, he was the knight. He was the noble knight who couldn't get what he wanted, of course. Then you have the assassin, who is not important. It's just an assassin.
Then the assassin, and then the other characters that are more important.
The main characters the main servants I enjoyed were the three kings, which was Iskander, Gilgamesh, and King Arturia. One of my probably my favorite episode in the entire show is when they meet up and it's like the discussion of the three kings. They're drinking wine.
Yeah.
And like the masters are all horribly uncomfortable. Just like, should we fight?
Are we gonna start killing each other, or are y'all just gonna talk and drink?
But
and
I love that episode because it's just like, it's all three of the kings talking about their ideals and what they want or what their goals to accomplish. Yeah, I think out of the three of them, while Saber is the best, like they're all great kings. Saber is a great king because she did everything for her people. Gilgamesh is a great king because he became so powerful, and because he was a very strong man who protected people. And then you have Iskander, who was also a great king because he conquered a lot of, area, and he led his men into the charge. But I think, like, out of everybody, he's the most charismatic, very charismatic, and the most, like, just like, I would die for that man. I would not die for Saber or Gilgamesh, but I would die for Iskander.
Yes.
He is definitely the one who puts Saber in her place when she talks about when, like, oh, I want to change the past. And he's like, you want to change your past? And he's like, I wouldn't want to do that.
I want to change my past. Why? I want to be a man.
No. I mean, like, she wants to, save, Camelot because she failed. She wants to save her country, but then he quickly says, like, you're dumb for doing that. You're just a child.
You're stupid. Shut up.
That is not how a king should be. You failed because you tried to do everything for your people instead of realizing you should have indulged for your people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting what he's saying. And then at the end, it plays a whole role where she sees Lancelot is the berserker, which to be a berserker, you have to be corrupt and go insane. So she believes that Lancelot went insane.
Stop calling him Lancer.
She believes he went insane because of her, that she was a horrible king. But in reality, no, he did not go insane because he has an interior monologue that says that she was the greatest king that he ever served under. But he had his own issues.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff. It paid off. It paid off.
I like the part where he, like, took over a jet.
Oh, the big action scene.
I thought that was really cool, where he just, like, grabbed the jet and started riding it like a surfboard.
All right, so there's so much to talk about. Oh my god.
I know it is.
Okay, so you got the
people are gonna watch this video, Grant. It's gonna be too long.
We're gonna finish up in a little bit. So you got the big battle within the middle, 2 episodes long. We need to stop Castor. That, like, after the church sends out the signal, like,
after
okay,
he,
everybody
summons a giant starfish.
Everybody needs to kill Castor. Like, that's goal number 1 right now. Forget about the Grail. Kill Castor.
They kind of had a oh shit moment with Castor.
Yeah, like he is beyond control. The whole deal is, like, he's interfering with the outside world. You're not supposed to do that. Everybody needs to kill him. So then everybody kind of works together to try to kill him. And then what ends up happening is Saber does the final blow with Excalibur, which is the most famous line in Fate, I would say.
Just Excalibur.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yelling out Excalibur. It's badass. The actress has done it. I've seen the actress do it in real life, and it's impressive. She's very talented. But besides that, so you got the big action scene, which escalates because of all the children he killed, and all he wants to do, he's doing it for God.
He's doing it for his God.
You have that. Then you have, like, after that, everything kind of goes to shit and everyone starts dying. Then you have the very end of the show where, of course, we already talked about what Kiritsugu does, and then what ends up happening is Kotomina is the one who wins the Holy Grail, and Gilgamesh survives from the Holy Grail. Which, can I mention really quick? Something I've told you about this before. Something I really like about Gilgamesh. There's only 2 people in the history of Fate that have known that can't be corrupted by the Grail. Those 2 people are Joan d'Arc and then Gilgamesh.
Joan of Arc.
Well, yeah, but Joan of Arc, because of her undying faith in God, she can't get corrupted. She just can't.
Gilgamesh,
his undying faith
in himself.
That's why he can't get corrupted. So
I think that is one of his best features. So involved and infatuated with himself, believes in himself so much, he cannot die.
In his world, like, because he's a top tier servant, like, just in general, he's a top tier.
He literally has everything at his fingertips with the Gates of Babylon, like, literally everything.
He does have a weakness. He does have many weaknesses.
His ego.
He's not a fighter, and his massive ego. Because if Saber was to get in close, like, sword combat with him, he's gone. Or if anybody
he's not a fighter. He's a talker.
Yeah, he talks, and then he gets the Gates of Babylon.
He is a king, not a knight. Kings do not fight, only knights.
So you have him, and I always thought that was so funny how he's so infatuated with himself, even to the point where he can see the future and he could see like if he's going to lose. But even if he sees that, he's so dumb and so like infatuated with himself. He's like, that can't happen.
That's not the future.
That
That's
won't happen.
that's
Everything's
like a
gonna be
Marvel
fine.
Universe spin-off. This fucking I'm just.
But yeah, I loved Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is one of my favorite like characters to hate. You know what I mean? He's just like he's perfect because like he's so arrogant, but he has a reason to be arrogant because he's so
Because
powerful.
he's king.
He's the king. He has the gates of Babylon. Why wouldn't he be so arrogant? But
I would be.
that is very funny that it ends up at the end of the series. No one would expect it, but both Kotomina and him win the Grail. And, you know, he gets his physical form in the real world, which is what Gilgamesh wanted. And then Kotomina gets to live because he died.
Yeah.
Well, I
He-
guess
he-
that's a wish. And his
he's
wish,
dead.
And he believes his wish is to see everything burn because he's evil. He's just a bad guy.
Wow. Just go up to the all-powerful Grail, wish for anything you want. I want everything to be on fire.
Well, I think
Fuck, all right, then, asshole.
I think we know at this point, just like the Fate universe is filled with awful people.
Horrible people. Some of the worst people.
Yeah, some of the most evil bastards you'll see. Like, is in.
I mean,
Fate.
other than our government, am I right?
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Instantly flagged.
So yeah, we described the plot. We talked about a few of our episodes that we liked. The fight scenes are great. I mean, we can move on to presentation. Presentation. What
On a
what do you
silver
think?
platter. That's how it was presented to us. And we ate it like it was our last meal, and we cherished every moment of it.
Fate Zero looks amazing.
Yes.
It's kind of sucks because Fate Stay Night and then Fate Cal Linear Prism and then like Fate Heaven's Feel, like ever since then, because it's been many years now, ever since they started doing more stuff, it's getting better and better.
Well, yeah, the more
animation-
modern day stuff is obviously going to look better.
Well, like the more modern day and Fate, like so it just gets better and better, and the action scenes get better and better. Like seeing Heaven's Feel compared to this, it's like, oh, this is pretty quaint.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
quaint.
that's quaint.
It's tamed compared to Heaven's Feel, but don't let that take away from the fact that the action scenes in this show are beautifully animated.
Yes.
Beautifully animated. Some of my favorites are, you know, Saber versus Lancer, the first encounter. Not necessarily because the fight scene was really cool, but just because seeing how they outsmarted each other and seeing how they were talking, it's like, oh, that's cool. Then, of course, all the other action scenes are great.
Yes.
There's a few bits of CGI in this show, but honestly, they're not jaw-droppingly bad. They're not even bad. They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
You'll notice it.
It's very obvious when it's CG versus normal animated.
Yeah, like 2D.
Yeah.
It
I'm
just
normally not
happens.
one for CG.
Well,
I
of
really
course.
like CG.
No, I'm not one for it at all, but
But
if
if
you
it's
could
like
blend it in,
if it's
fine.
like a giant monster that's CG and everything else is 2D, that's fine.
Yeah, well, it depends. If it looks good, it needs to look good.
If the characters are, no, I'm not gonna watch that.
But yeah, so
This is something that is a good watch.
mhm.
People should watch it if you like anime.
So
you
yeah,
should watch it.
animation's great. Soundtrack phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Soundtrack is phenomenal. That's really all we have to say about the presentation. So then this video isn't too long.
It-
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
But anyways, final thoughts. What would you say your final thoughts are, and then would you recommend it?
I would recommend it. It is a very good show. You guys should watch it if it's still on Netflix. Go watch it on Netflix. If it's not, then find somewhere else.
It is on Netflix, and it's also on Crunchyroll.
Good. I hope you all have a new show to watch when you get bored. Fate
All
Size
right.
Zero.
I would also recommend it. It's one of my. It sparked my interest into one of my favorite franchises, or my favorite franchise now to this day. I loved Fate Zero when it came out, and at the time I was like, how could it get better than this?
Mm-hmm. And then Unlimited
uh,
Blade Works came out, and you were
and-
like, oh.
And it's like, okay, there are some aspects I like more, but then other aspects not so much. But then Fate Cal Linear, I watched that, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then Heaven's Feel, and I was like, oh, this is great. Then Fate Apocrypha, and I was like, oh, it went downhill. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding, guys. I don't hate it. I don't hate
Yeah,
it.
he does. He hates it. Look at me. I see him. He's shaking his head. No, he hates it.
So I love Fate Zero. It's one of my personal favorite anime. It's one of the anime I've always recommended, which I discussed in the Q&A. I recommend 4 shows. Fate Zero is one of those 4 shows I'd recommend people who don't like anime.
You know what I would recommend?
I really like.
I recommend
this
you
show.
guys go watch the Q&A.
And this is
find out
also
more
a
about
good
us.
gateway into watching more Fate, because if you like Fate Zero, you're gonna love everything Fate related, except for the ones that are shitty by Studio Dean. So don't watch those.
You'll like all of them except the ones that are bad. You won't like those ones.
And as my final just kind of message out there, I recommend you guys don't watch this show in English. I've seen it in English. The voice acting's bad. The Japanese voice actors worked so long and have been doing this for more than 2 decades at this point. So it was a little bit disrespectful if you ignore them. So I would suggest watching this in Japanese, because also it's very heavy on emotion. So watch it in Japanese. Really good. Anyways, I'm Grant for One Fair Review.
That would be all. That would be all, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you guys for watching. If you liked, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please comment down below what if you guys have seen Fate Zero, if you love it, hate it, don't care about it, never want to see it. If you want to kill us,
things.
Tell us everything you want and tell us.
Tell us how your day went. We want to know.
So anyways,
we're curious.
As always, have a nice day, and we'll see you next time on One Fair Review.
Goodbye.